I'm down. All right, we're live, everybody. We've been having too much fun over here, just chit chatting. Troy Miller has been schooling me
What?
that apparently anything with nipples can be milked. So I guess I have to agree with that. Mammals can,
I
I don't know.
watched I watched the documentary Meet the Fockers, and he clearly stated in there that you can milk anything with nipples.
Okay.
I'm just regurgitating facts from a
I
documentary.
I am gonna leave it right there because, and I'm gonna let you be the authority on milking mammals. So you're the Midwestern one. Is well, I guess we're both Midwestern, right? But
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I don't know. How you doing, man? Aside from the mammal
Um,
milking, how's everything going?
I'm actually doing really good today. I'm getting ready for my program at PPSDC in San Diego for the business of photography. So I'm polishing my slides and my outline for the workshop on Wednesday. So yeah,
Very cool. Very cool. You stay busy.
yeah.
How many president titles do you hold? I know you're president of your homeowners association, president of IEPPV. Like what else? What else are you president of?
Well,
And
that's the
and
only
did you
official
steal
one.
any of
But
those elections? I think is the real question. Exactly.
uh, if nobody ran against me, did I actually steal it?
No.
I don't know.
No. 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 It's all good. What's going on over here? Man, lots of stuff going on over here, which I will share with everyone in the member mixer. All good things. All good things. But today I want to dive into our critique, our photo critique. We're in number two. You realize we're in 200 episode 209, right? 209.
I
209.
stopped
This is our.
counting for after 4 years. I decided I'm not going to count anymore.
I know. It's yeah. What have I done 209 of? That's amazing. But we're gonna do 209 today, so we'll take it up a
Yeah.
notch. And like I said, today's photo critique topic, or this critique topic, was open general. Thank you, Troy, for suggesting that. Um, and we got quite a few submissions, even though I posted the event late, coming in under the wire last night. Everyone swung in and updated all their images and put them all in there. So there's quite a few images to go through in the group. So I'm going to switch over. And hey, everybody in the chat, by the way, thanks for popping in here. Um, so let's go ahead and do this. All right, here we go. Troy Miller. We are inside the
Yeah.
community. First up on deck is Michael Brown. He titles this one Best Friends. Let's take a look.
Oh, that's cute.
Look at that
Yeah.
little
I love the
nose.
treatment. Yeah, I love the black and white treatment. This whole series that you've been doing, Michael, I really enjoy that, and I love the treatment in the square format. It's really really nice. I think you have a wonderful image here. I think a couple things that I would lean into would be one, maybe a little bit heavy vignette or heavier vignette or a slight vignette on this image. And I know it's not always easy to do, but it would be wonderful if you could get the puppy looking at you.
Mm.
When you've got them in there. So maybe get yourself a little clicker or snap your fingers or, do something to get them to look at you. Otherwise, he looks like he's unhappy. He doesn't want to be there.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I like this. I love this series, a street photography series, and I want to know the conversation that Michael, that you have with these folks before you take their photo. Obviously, these are not candid street photos, so you've had to had some sort of conversation with them to get them to agree to look into the camera. So I'm curious
Hmm.
what your pickup routine is for these photos. It'd be kind of interesting to understand that. But
Yeah.
cool shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great image, though. I think they're great. Yeah. And good series. Yeah. Really, really fun series.
Yeah, I'm a fan of the square crop on these two, on this one in particular.
Oh, yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. All right. Tomas is next. San Francisco New Year's Eve fireworks celebration. Three shots stacked here. So let's take a look.
Ooh, I
Wow.
like that.
Jelly. Look at that. We contemplated going out there. But we were like, New Year's Eve, traffic, drunk drivers, San Francisco. You got to drive by Oakland too, and all the partying going on. So we were like, let's just keep the baby at home. so,
Yeah.
so we didn't do it. Now I wish I had gone. Look at the shot. This is beautiful. 3 shots stacked, long exposure.
Yeah, it's great, and I think what I really enjoy about it a lot is the sort of the 3 elements that you have that work together. You know, you've got the bridge, which is kind of the leading line, then you've got the center of focus, which is your fireworks, and then you've got the boat down in the lower right hand corner. I am a little frustrated about how much darkness is in that lower right hand corner that really doesn't add to the image at all. So what I would probably do is crop off some of the bottom and some of the right-hand side so that it would put the boat down in the lower right-hand corner more without all that negative space, because that negative space really is not helping the image at all. So it's kind of off balancing.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, because it's a void down there, right? So I agree with that. What I'd want to see in this, if the pixels were there, a little bit more space on the left side of the Bay Bridge there, just so it's not so close to the edge of the frame. Because I know I have a feeling there's more city on the left over there, so it's a little bit more just to give us a sense of, I don't know. It just feels a little tight, a little claustrophobic on that left side. And to your point, Troy, yeah, the void at the bottom right, crop that out a little bit, and that will give us kind of a nice punch in to the actual fireworks. Those lower left pixels are doing us no good at all, right? They're not adding to the story in any sort of way. Not even I don't even think as a compositional element, because you have to kind of look and see. I understood if you were going to use those as kind of a framing in the foreground so that you got the feeling of someone peering through bushes a little bit to see all this magnificence of the city and the bridge and the fireworks. Excuse me. But as it is, there's very little detail in there. So yeah, so we could crop up a little bit, chop a little bit off the right side, like Troy says, and if it is in the raw, zoom out a little bit so you have a little bit more space on the left side of the bridge. But love that. I love the fact that you did, the long exposure and the stacking. It's brilliant. I love that. Very cool.
Yep, well done.
Like Yay. Nicole likes her steaks. Well done.
We can forgive her for that.
No, it's unforgivable. Because, dude, you know what? I love my steaks, and I will sous vide the perfect steak, the perfect medium rare steak, seasoned, throw it on the grill or in the cast iron to get the lines on it perfect. And then, you know what she does? Put it back on the grill for another 3 hours. Oh.
It's called beef jerky. That's beef jerky.
Yeah, that's what I told her. I mean, it's like, why don't you just eat the charcoal? It's probably juicier. All right, so enough about me. Let's move on.
That's awesome.
Next up is Raphael Swift. He says, I don't believe I've shared this one from 2021. It's my current desktop image, and I see 2 different ways on the unmatched monitors I'm running. Nikon. He sees it in 2 different ways on the unmatched monitors he's running. Okay. Nikon 50. Yeah, that color thing, man. We have to nail that. Look at this guy, though.
Yeah. That's super cool. My first thought was, I wonder what this would look like in black and white. I mean, I like the blue tones, and so I'm not saying that it needs to be black and white, but I wonder what it would look like in black and white, because all those ripples and waves would look super cool. And yes, it would look good in infrared if it had been infrared.
I was going to ask that, right? That was my next question. Like,
I know.
What would I'm always curious, because you can see in infrared, like your eyes, you've shot enough infrared, so you know what's going to render as what. I don't. Like, what would happen? Would the animal go dark, or would it be light? Would the water? I'm guessing the water is reflecting all spectrum, right, of light, or wavelengths of light, so it would go dark. I don't know what would happen.
Potentially, it could block up the shadows, which means that the subject matter is going to go really dark. So the beaver's face and everything would go too dark if there isn't enough infrared light in there. So it's hard to say, but the reflections would look really cool. Reflections always look really cool in infrared. looking at this image, I really enjoy the image. I love the water patterns and everything. I would probably want to crop up from the bottom and the right hand side to kind of bring you into, your subject a little bit tighter.
Hmm.
There's just, you just have a lot of space that you really just don't need there.
Yeah.
Like half of the right, half of the bottom, bring the beaver a little bit lower in there, and your subject would be even more prominent in this frame. I don't know. What do you think?
I agree. Yeah. So you're talking about pushing the face, which is what we are instantly drawn to, but pushing the face closer to that lower quadrant there. And I would say the same thing. I don't mind that much space on the right side because it gives him or her or they some place to swim into. It gives our animals some place to swim into. But I would like more space, much like that bridge shot. I would like more space behind the tails and the ripples from the tail in the rear, just a hair. So yeah, if you have to lose some space on the right to give them closer to the lower to the what do you call it, rule of thirds quadrant there, that's great. But
Mm-hmm.
more important to me would be the giving a little more space to the tail. And is it just me, or is there some artifacting back here in the water? Or is that just the way the water was rippling that makes it look weird like that? You see that?
Yeah, I was looking at that too. I noticed that there are a few dust spots, but
Uh-oh.
I see dust spots. Yeah, the artifacts in the back. I think that is just maybe like the refraction of the light off of the water. Water does weird things.
Mm.
Um,
I was thinking it
but
might
the
have been
but
a
the dust
like
spot.
like a content aware scale thing, or where he wanted more space at the top of the frame, so you drag it up a little bit, and content aware scale is hit or miss,
Mm,
especially with this kind of stuff. So I don't know, or maybe it was
yeah, I'm
there.
not
Who
seeing
knows?
that in there. Yeah, I'm not seeing that. But yeah,
Yeah.
there's
Okay.
certainly at 3 o'clock, right at the edge. There's a couple dust spots right there. And on the left, I don't know, would it be like maybe 8 o'clock right along the edge in the blue? There's definitely some dust spots in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you
Okay.
know,
Well, easily
just saying.
fixed. Easily fixed. Easily fixed. Cool. Love that shot though. I love the face. All right. Coming up next is Paolo Bossetti. Paolo says, I think that I may have posted here already, but this is a slightly improved PP. Okay. PP. All right. Let's unpack that, Troy. Let's double click on that. PP.
Oh
Perspective
man,
photograph, point of perspective, post processing. Thank you, Paolo.
post
Thank you.
processing. Yeah.
Yes, we're not cool enough to unpack or double click on your acronyms here. So,
That's not true. That's not true. The thing is that our minds immediately go to gutter, and we have to try to figure out how to filter what we want to say without saying what we're really thinking. That's what happens.
hey, I'm just happy I got to say PP on a live stream, and it's okay. There you go. Thank you, Paolo. He says it's taken in Venice. I'm not gonna read it. But at the Academy Bridge with medium format Fujifilm GFX 100S. Oh, good. He's posted the original 102 megapixel photo. Very cool. We're not gonna load that here, but look at that.
Yeah, I
Look
think
at
I
that.
remember this from. Was this from like the focus, like the focus stacking or the focus blending critique that we did a couple weeks ago? Like multiple images, I think is really nice.
Yeah.
Um,
I
yeah,
love
I'm
the
looking at that.
sky in
It's
this.
got
I
sharp.
love the sky is fantastic. It's just, muted and overcast and just painterly. And it's the perfect sky for this situation, right? It's just
Oh,
yeah,
it's a
this
single
is fun.
photo. Yeah, no, it's beautiful. I love the toning. I love the mood. The haze that's in there really, really helps a lot, and it also creates more depth in the image, right? So having that
Mhm.
atmosphere to kind of give us a sense of depth. Now, I think in the sort of in the center above the skyline, we've got a couple black dots, and those very possibly could be birds, but they also come across as maybe sensor dust or something. I'm not sure. So I would probably pull those out, even if they are just birds, because they really don't look like birds in the frame. But Paolo, this is an exceptionally good image. This is really wonderful. I can't enjoy this enough.
And he didn't bring up the black and white thing. Look at that. Huh.
No, because the colors work here. All the colors here are harmonious. They all lead you in the proper direction. They all speak to something very specific. Without the colors, it would be a dramatically different image. Although
I
good in
agree.
black and white.
Yeah, I think it would look fantastic in black and white, but I think it would be for a shot like this, it's already timeless, I think, because, just by the nature of this, the scene, and the age of these buildings, and there's not a whole lot of telltale signs of any sort of technology or modernness in the scene. So leaving the color in it, muted as it is great. Because it's already old looking. You're already like, what period was this taken in? Must be recent because it's color, right? But if you push it to black and white, it's going to push it even more further towards that. Oh, this must be, this must have been taken in the early 1900s or something. No, right. I like it.
Right.
I like
Wonderful.
it. Mm-hmm. Very good. Very good.
Very good.
Thank you, Paolo. Appreciate you. All right. Up next is Mr. Craig Stampfli. He says, "Stupid leaf." All right.
Craig, did you put that leaf there on purpose? I think you put that there on purpose.
Yeah, that's for Instagram. That's an Instagram leaf.
Yeah. So this is really beautiful. I really love this image. I love the crop. I love the presentation, the feel of this. In the pose of it, and I know that that's not part of this photo, but in the pose of it, I wish that her hands were a little bit more relaxed, instead of so angular and so tight against that wall. But I wish that would have followed more along what am I trying to say? So the relaxation in the S curve of her body, I wish that her arms and her elbows would have relaxed a little bit more, like maybe a slight push away from the wall or something like that. And then to get picky, because I know that you want to enter this into competition, I love the leaves on the surface of the water. I think that's fantastic. I think you're going to find some judges may not like that, but I really like that. I would definitely get into the image and get rid of as many of those little tiny white particles that you can get rid of. And I know that's impossible sometimes, but reducing those would really help this image a lot.
Can we talk about the crop a little bit? Because I'm curious. I know that this is for competition, and obviously the offset crop is completely intentional. But can you, just for those of us that don't understand asymmetrical cropping and why you would do it, why would you do asymmetrical cropping on a shot like this? What is the compositional reason for that?
I don't know. I mean, are you talking about the presentation or the way that the image itself is cropped?
No, the presentation. The more space on the mat or background on the right, as it were, versus on the left or top bottom. It's asymmetrical.
Yeah, of course. So basically what that's doing is it's giving the viewer the sense that there is space behind the subject or to the right of the subject. It's sort of an optical illusion. It's sort of a presentation method that gives you a sense that there's space back there. If the image had been shifted on the map to the right and the space had been left on the left, it would have given us a sense that there was space in front of our subject. It's just a way to sort of please the brain and give us a sense that there's balance somehow, from that. So it's a very subtle technique in presentation, but it does make a difference.
Yeah, because I wonder, I mean, I think it looks classy, it looks modern, it looks, obviously intentional. So, and I think it would leave, and I don't know if this is just in my head or not, but I feel like it would leave the layperson that is not a photographer, that doesn't understand competition rules or the intricacies that go in with the mindset that goes into creating an asymmetrical matting like this. They might think it's a mistake. Like, well, oh, this is great. Oh, I just wish he had centered it on the thing. It would have been perfect, right? So, I mean, is that, like, what do you think about that? Like, if the perception from a civilian is that it's a mistake, is it in fact a mistake? Or are you shooting for the judges that understand what this is for and what the artist was doing?
Well, one, I never worry about what the layman thinks. I don't really worry about what anybody thinks. But remember, this compositional elements, this is not competition only. This is a very traditional printing matting style that goes back, 50, 60, 70 plus years, where artists and photographers would present things to hang in a gallery, and this is the methods that they would use to create the mood and sort of interpretation they wanted you to have with their images. So this isn't just a digital age image competition thing. So
interesting. Love it.
Yep.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Paolo says it reminds him of a black matted Polaroid. Yeah. No, absolutely. Or Instax so for the modern generation. All right, James Glennie. Thank you, Craig. That was great. Thank you. Appreciate that. Next up is James Glennie. This is a shot of Sky Dome in Toronto in 2017. He said, I figured I'd retry the stitch I wanted to do for the last critique. I ended up going with affinity for the stitching and then a lot of tweaking after that to fix things up. Yeah, okay, cool.
Oh, super cool. Yeah, I really like this. I at first I'm kind of resistant to the fuzzy subjects in the corners, in the lower right and lower left hand corners. But the more that I look at the image, the more that I like those, because it gives me a sense of sitting in the crowd. So I really appreciate that, and the detail and how much depth this image has. I think it's wonderfully done. Yeah, very nice.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel differently about the corners here. I feel like I don't want to see them because I see the grandeur of this stadium and all the geometrical lines, the circles and, all the stuff in there that just looks, it puts me in the seat of where I am already. And when I first pull this image up, my eye goes directly to this lower left corner over here. And I get stuck in thinking who that is. And then I'm like, oh, that looks like my uncle so-and-so. He shaves his head like that, So, I get trapped in this little eddy over here. And then I move over to this corner. And I'm like, oh, what's going on? Is that a Major League Baseball logo out of focus? So I'm lost in these two corners that are just distracting me from the overall grandeur of the shot. So I would have preferred not to have them in there. So other than that, I love it. I love you got it, right? I mean, the capture is just fantastic. Like something that you can't do anything about, I'm guessing, unless you know of a way, Troy, is to like straighten this bowed line right here. That's an artifact because what you're doing, right? This line is actually straight in reality. Is there any way to get that straight without, using distort or some other magic?
Yeah, there is. I mean, you can do perspective correction like DxO or do it manually in Photoshop, and you would minimize that lower left-hand corner because you might pull that left-hand corner down and out. You would have to be very careful not to overly distort the stands. But that's also a good point, is that it feels to me that the buildings are all leaning to the right a little bit. I don't know that they're. I'm going to use my screen capture technique to see. Oh, yeah, they're definitely leaning to the right. Yeah.
So the whole thing needs to be rotated to the left a couple of pixels to get those to line up. And it's not egregious, right? But it's just a little tiny pinprick in the lower part of your neck. It's like, oh, something I can't. What is it? It's that.
So when you stitch a bunch of images together, you're moving the camera, right? So you're panning the camera, so your perspective is changing depending on the lens that you're using. So you may have perfectly vertical and horizontal lines in segments of your image, but other segments of the image they're going to distort, right? So in this case, the buildings maybe being at the top half of your perspective of the lens, kind of being off in the distance, they're distorting, where some of the stuff in the field is not. So you kind of got to look at that and go in and manually tweak those little areas. We're talking to make it perfect, but
yeah, really cool shot. It draws you in though. It really pulls you in. I wonder how much resolution is in this shot. Like looking at the original, can you zoom in on that crowd and actually make out things. Is detail that crisp? And it's funny that we even can ask that question, because in the film days, no, those are ball-sized pieces of grain that look like a crowd. In the digital era, you could zoom in and like, oh, that guy has a name tag on that says Miller. Okay, it's crazy.
And kudos stitching 50 images in a pano. That is no small task at all. It's pretty damn nice, and that's a lot of work to be considered. So well done with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Really nice. All right. Thank you, James Glennie. Okay, next up is Mr. Michael Ryno. He says, excuse me. He says, a bison photographed one evening this week. He had to put that this weekend, so we know that this is a regular occurrence. This is a regular occurrence in Rhinoville up there. A bison photograph one evening this week as the sun was setting behind mountains in the background. Look at that.
How fun. I'm curious what you think of this image before I say anything. I'm curious.
Okay. So what would I say initially about this image? I like it. I mean, I like that it's a silhouette, and I like that when I look at this image initially, I know, okay, I see bison, I see the graphical nature of the image. If I was to be critical about it, there'd probably be two or three things that I would change. I'd want, if it's going to be a silhouette, I'd want it all silhouette. I see a little detail in the bison here, so to make it more graphical, maybe, punch up the contrast or whatever to make this go completely black here. These foreground elements in the lower right, this foliage or plant down here, I don't think that's adding to the simplicity of the photo. It's taking away from it and kind of moving into the bison right here. So I'd get rid of that either in post or through choosing a different crop. Lastly, I feel like it might be a little bit tilted to the right here, looking at the horizon. Either it is tilted or it's just an optical illusion. Either way, it's presenting as if it's tilted a little bit. And then lastly, this tail is lifted, which means he either just did his business or is about to do his business. So anyone who knows animals or livestock is going to look at this as like, oh, it's either just happened or it's about to happen. Or maybe it was happening when he took the shot and he photoshopped it out of there. So I don't know. What do you think, Troy?
So to the lifted tail, at the end of the tail and around that area, it looks to me like there's been a lot of Photoshop work. Something has been happening. There's been some editing done there, especially just to the left of the edge of the tail. It's very choppy, and there's some chicken tracks in there. It's very repeated. So there's some bad Photoshop work going on in there. Initially, that's my impression. I was interested what you had to say about this image, because for me, I feel like I'm missing part of the story, and I'm not a huge fan of just the bison, just in the frame as a silhouette. I feel like I need to see the environment that it's in, because I'm asking so many questions about it, right? And so the image is nice. The colors are wonderful. The silhouette is super cool. I feel like I'm missing part of the story, part of the image, right? And it's almost like as if it was a bigger image and then he just cropped it in really tight, Yeah,
I hear you. I agree. But on the other hand, looking at this image might be perfect in either a triptych or an overall grid of images that are, being descriptive of the plains in Colorado. And this is just one shot of many. I see what you're saying. Standing on its own, literally and figuratively, it could use a little bit more, in addition to the things I said, or a little bit more space around it. But if this was presented as a series or a photo story, then it would make sense. I can see this in the middle. Maybe it's a photo story about bison, and one of the shot is a herd of bison running across a plain, and then there's some detailed shots of horns and eyes or stuff like that, and then boom, this shot kind of showing the whole animal. So yeah, it feels like it's part of a story rather than the whole story.
Exactly. Yep. Exactly.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Rhino. All right. Up next is Nora, who's in the chat. Nora says, incoming storm. One of the three black churches in Iceland, originally built in 1703 and rebuilt in 1848. It's covered with tar pitch to keep the wood from deteriorating quickly. To the west, the sun was setting. To the north, the storm clouds were rolling in. To the south, the sky was blue and clouds were fluffy white. I went with the storm. Yeah, good choice.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
That's crazy.
This is
Look at that.
just so
It's like
wonderful.
automatic contrast, right? It's just like, yeah, let's just make this thing contrasty with this black pitch on it. Yeah, that is fantastic.
I mean, looking at this image, this to me is a sort of embodiment of like all things photographically wonderful. You have depth, in layers of color or tone rather. You have a foreground and middle ground and a background. You have a key subject, which is the door, which is lit so wonderfully. I mean, to me, this really like harkens to like an Ansel Adams type image, right? Like where you just have all these wonderful tones that lead you through the scene, just hold you there, from the windows being, darker than the archway at the beginning of the gate, and then the door brighter, and then the textures in that wood is just fantastic. My only critique for this is I wish that the subject matter on the left wasn't so tight to the edge of the frame. I wish there was some more space there. Kind of like what we have to the right of the church. I wish we kind of had some of that to the left. I feel like it's kind of tight. However, that adds a sense of tension in this moment that I don't think is terrible, but maybe my preference is that I had space, right? So I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying that's my preference.
Yeah, there's a couple ways you go with the shot. I like it as it is. It's just fantastic, and you get lost in it. In fact, when I look at this shot, Nora, I feel like I can almost hear wind blowing and a harmonica playing off in the distance, right? It feels that period on it. If I was to change anything, another crop might be to this structure on the side here. I don't know that I'd want that in there at all, right? Because this church is just magnificent with the cross on it and the windows and the perspective that you chose for it, and the angle that looks like you got a little bit low, not sure. To shoot it, you've got all the detail in the door. For me, this door, like Troy was saying, is the hero of the image. It makes you want to go through it and what's in there and, all the things. And then I get taken back a little bit on this structure on the left because I'm left wondering what it is. Like, I mean, we could probably guess what it is, and it looks a little modern, I think. But it's taken me away from the grandeur of this, like, very simple, very beautiful, perfectly lit and shot element on the right side. And then, of course, the drama of the sky that you chose to shoot it against is just fantastic. It all sort of works together. I don't know. Does that make sense, Troy?
Yeah, I love the shot so much. And maybe it's because of my fandom of Ansel Adams and following all of his work and seeing the black and white elements, and so rarely seeing a great tonal values throughout an image. I mean, that's, to me, you've got everything from really, really bright, nearly blown out lights to nearly blocked shadows, and it's all there, right? And so I think that's super wonderful. I agree with you, Frederick, that you could crop out the gate on the left right to the first post and just leave a little bit of the mountain and sort of that wall, and your image is exceptional. To me, it just elevates it even more. So
yeah, because you take that out, like I'm holding my hand up and looking at, I'm doing the Troy Miller crop.
I'm
my hand
dropping
up
it too. I'm like,
yeah, you drop that out and then boom. I mean, it throws gas on the fire, and it just looks wow. With that element in there, it's still stunning. But then you just kind of go over to the left a little bit and start wondering, oh, what's that?
And this is one of those images that I think that we can all learn a lesson from, and that is, timing, being there at the right time and recognizing it. If you had photographed this at any other time and maybe it was blue skies and the sun wasn't coming through and that door wasn't lit properly, it could be a boring shot. right? And so, sometimes it's about waiting for the right light and the right environment. And as a landscape photographer, you need to think about that when you're out in the world and you're looking at a mountain or a natural arch or something. You might think like, well, this is spectacular, but is the light right? The environment right? Maybe you got to come back, get up in the morning, which I don't like to do, but
Yeah.
So
Yeah, very cool. Very nice.
fantastic.
Good job, Nora. Thank you for sharing that. Phil says also unfair. Phil's up. Phil calls this one stony ground.
Stony ground. I do
It's
love
amazing what he can
Phil's.
do what you can do with water and long exposures and indie filters. It just transforms any moving element into just a graphical compositional element.
Right. And kudos to Phil, because I think that you're narrowing in on your vision better. At least the images that you're showing have more of the elements in there, I think, that you want us to see, where your compositions are tighter and the leading our eyes through the image is better. This one with the tones of the darker tones in the foreground and the lighter tones in the background with all those layers in between, and you've got that rock in the back that's kind of centered at the top. I mean, that is exceptional symmetry in an image. This is, for me, this is probably one of your best images that I've seen. I really love this.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, all of the above. Yeah, you can see the straight line of symmetry right down the middle of the piece here. Is it missing Phil's signature character in there? Do you see a sea palm in there floating in here?
The sea palm.
Yeah, I think the storms may have taken all the sea palms away. So, very good, Phil.
Which
Thank you.
I think speaks to the idea that a sea palm adds to an already beautiful environment.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one of the things that I had to learn trying to be a landscape photographer. I saw everything with people in it, as a portrait. And I realized that I needed to learn how to photograph the landscape and then put a person in it. And I think that's what Phil has here. This is a beautiful shot without a sea palm. So imagine when you do this and there are sea palms or birds or, other elements.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah, and I look for the sea palms mainly for scale, because these shots I have right now I have no idea if is this gigantic. I'm imagining it's gigantic because you can't see the waves. The waves would be a little telltale sign of size, but they're obscured by the long exposure. And there's no foliage or wildlife in here for your brain to kind of lock onto and use as a measurement. But yeah, it's interesting.
Right.
And maybe that adds to the overall mystery of it. Like, how big is this? Is this giant or is this little?
Yep.
I like it.
Yep.
Good job, Phil. Thank
Exactly.
you. Stony ground. Up next is Karen Sweeney. Hey, Karen. Karen's in the chat. Karen says, dawn breaks. Sometimes when the wildlife doesn't show up, the stage becomes the subject. The sun was rising behind a stand of trees, and I couldn't resist. This is the scene reflected in the river. Canvas rotated 180 degrees in post. Look at that. Karen using her superpowers. Look at that. That's cool.
I love it. I got to say, the first thing I thought of was the TV series Stranger Things.
Mm-hmm.
This reminded me of like a barrier, right, between the earthly realm and the underworld or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's so abstract, and I just absolutely love that. I would probably reduce or remove some of those circular diffractions, right? Those could be all kinds of things. I would probably reduce the influence that those have in the image. Not remove entirely, but just kind of reduce the influence, especially near the edges.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, yeah, I could see that. I don't mind them in there, though. I mean, I feel like the whole thing is abstract, and we've got lots of vertical lines in there. And I like the play on the circular foreground elements that are just kind of in there. Yeah, I could see if you remove them, it would be, especially like in the middle here, and make them kind of a peripheral element. But yeah, I don't know. I like it. And I agree with you. It does feel like a portal. Like, I don't know. Like this this is what you don't want to be seeing after you've passed away and you're turning back. Like, hey, welcome in. This is where you're going to spend the rest of time at. No,
Yeah.
this is.
I think that what I find really wonderful about this shot is that I can't identify what the subject matter is. I don't know Mordor. Yeah, definitely. This is the gate to Mordor. I can't really identify what the subject matter is, but it's pleasing. It's pleasing because of the color palette. It's pleasing because of, the broken patterns. It's pleasing to look at. And, I don't need to know what it is to enjoy it.
Yeah, I can see this as part of the artist's, a gallery show where, these sort of Karen's abstracts, and this is one of them, are on display. This is beautiful. Thank you, Karen. Good work. Good work spotting this in the reflection and, and then doing all the post and, rotating and all that stuff. It's awesome. What a way to tame those pixels. Very cool. All right. Last, but I'll do a reload, but I think Tim Engel may be the last one.
Yeah, reload. There's 2 more.
There's 3 more? Okay. Tim Engel says, let's go to the movies. Editorial image, 3 light setup. Look at that. And just for the record, if anybody wants to send gifts, my favorite snack of all time is in this guy's right hand, right there. Twizzlers. Twizzlers specifically, not Red Vines. Twizzlers.
It's so much fun. It's so much fun.
Yeah. What do you think? I mean, this is obviously a commercial shot, right? Obviously set up, but looking at it through, look at the shot through the lens of a judge, right? What do you think would need to be changed, if anything, in the shot to make it better, or is it great as is? The only thing I see, there's a couple things in here I see. The main thing is I feel like the horizon might be tilted a little bit. Looking back here in the shot, looks like we're off tilt a little. I don't know that I need to see the wrapper of the Twizzlers on right here on the ground. I don't know. I'm curious. What would you say, Troy?
The way that it's presented, I know that what Tim does is very intentional. So a lot of respect for that. So I don't think we need to see the chair on the right. I like the chair next to him with the Twizzler packet and sort of the mess he's making, and I love that. But I don't think we necessarily need to see all of that chair all the way on the right. Now, maybe that's there for commercial purposes, and that's very intentional, and that's very probable. I love the lighting. Would you crop it?
Would you crop it like right here, and just lose all that side of the frame?
I might leave a little bit of the chair that's in there so we don't crop off the Twizzler wrapper, because I like that. I like that idea that his mess is overflowing, next to him. But not knowing, again, I sort of try to qualify that with, Tim's images. That space is probably intentional, but as it's presented, I would probably not have that much space. The popcorn, the floating popcorn, whether it was added in post or it was added, captured in frame, that's wonderful. The expression on his face, the backlight with the blue light coming in the back kind of gives us a sense of projection. I think that's fantastic. The lighting feels a little flat to me on him. I think that I might have chosen to go with a little bit more dramatic lighting, because his face is kind of flat lit. But again, that might have been what he was going for. So
right, he's looking at a giant screen, right? So that's how you would be lit,
right,
if there's a bright giant screen in front of you. But yeah.
And in a perfect universe, I would love to see ice in the cup. I know that always isn't possible in commercial shoots because of the time it takes, and then the ice melts and all that kind of stuff. But I would love to see some cold beads of water and some ice cup in a perfect world.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Okay. I didn't even catch that. Yeah, you're right.
Well done, though. I love it. I always love Tim's stuff. It's great.
Yeah.
Now I want popcorn.
Do you go to a movie theater and do you gorge yourself like this in the theater, or do you just watch movies using your amazing home theater system?
I don't go to movie theaters because people are there and they talk. and I watch it at my own house, and I gorge myself on popcorn here.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah,
Very cool. Yeah, and Phil says great
well done.
texture on those seats. So
And kudos for the color harmony in this image too. You know, the shirt color is amazing. It offsets him without being a distraction
hmm
against the red seats. You know, there's so many things here that are working so well. So very well
what do
done.
we see here? On this image, what am I looking? Look over his left shoulder, right there. Do you see that?
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's
What
blue
is that?
light.
His shirt, or is that light, or what is that?
Oh,
Or
that's very
is that
interesting that
the
you
edge
caught.
of the chair? Maybe that's the edge of the chair catching the light. I think.
You know what I think that is? I'm guessing that this is where he did some blending to bring in some light or something, and maybe that's just the light in the shadow from the blue light catching that, or he's
hmm
blended two images.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
on
that
the back.
definitely
Yeah,
looks
Phil, it is
odd.
on the. It's on the back of the seat. Yeah, I'm just wondering where that's coming from because that light. Yeah, that you wouldn't see that light if the projector were right here, which it wouldn't be. It'd be way over here. Or I don't know. It might be back there, depending on where he is in the theater. But yeah,
Yeah,
that's yeah. What would you do to fix that?
good
If you
catch.
saw this, would you like maybe clone this side and flip it and put it over there and try to mask it in there, or what would you do?
I would probably do that and then try to bring, or I would just try to pull maybe some of the blue tone down and out and just make that part of the chair go darker. I think the blue light is what's confusing the balance in that scene. So I would address that. I'm not exactly sure. Probably pull the blue out and just darken it, make it look more like it's in shadow.
Yeah, yeah, very cool. All right, Tim Engel coming in swinging. All right, let me just do a quick
Yeah.
reload here and see who else submitted.
Yeah, we have two more.
Okay, Peter Levshin. No, no caption. Look at this. Wow, looks like the storm is rolling in.
Um,
All right,
yeah.
give
So
us your thoughts.
I love you, Peter. You know
Uh
I
oh,
love you.
here we go.
Um,
Here we go.
this thing is not in. It's not in focus. It's just not in focus. Um,
It's not. Well, the tree's in
it's an
focus.
no, the tree's not in focus.
Oh,
No. Yeah, if you zoom in,
Peter.
the tree's not in focus. I think that it's a crazy cool looking image, though. I mean, with the silhouette form of the animals or livestock or whatever that is there with the tree. I might crop a little bit off to the right because I think we have some wasted space there, maybe half or a third of that space.
hmm
And I'm okay with the stark sky. I don't even think we need clouds in there. It's a cool shot. I mean, it's definitely cool, but it would be cooler if it was in focus.
Yeah. So if let's make the assumption that it is in focus. So if it were in focus,
Right.
looking at it compositionally, what would you other than cropping off a little bit of the right side of the frame, anything else you would change?
Not so much. I mean, I might try to get rid of that bush that's in the bottom below the tree. I feel that that dark spot is a little distracting, so you could
Yeah.
lighten it or you could actually remove it.
Yeah. Kill it.
Um, no, but other than that, I think it's great. It just makes me sad that it's not sharp.
Yeah. Yeah. That. So yeah, the only I agree with you losing some of this right side of the frame here, removing this bush and potentially removing whatever this mound of dirt over here is because it's very light and distracting a little bit. I don't feel like I'd want to crop
Yeah.
in too close because you're already close to the edge, and this lying animal would be too close to the frame's edge. But if you're able to remove this little bit off to the left here, that would do it, and that would push us right into the image, especially with that crop down the side here. Remove this bush. Now it's all about this tree, the animals, and the vista. So
Right. And now to speak to infrared, so I'm almost certain this was shot in infrared. And the neat thing about a shot like this is that if you saw it in color, you've probably got a nice stark blue sky, sun is bathing everything, and you would normally walk away and think, well, this is not good light, right? Could be middle of the day, non-directional light. But in infrared, the light that's landing on the foreground is going to contrast against the UV light you're getting from the sky, and that's what creates the drama in here. So that's one of the reasons like shooting infrared during the day is really cool.
Yeah. Is it me, or I feel like the animals here have a little like a ghostly, I don't know, like they've been burned in a little bit, but not accurately. I don't know. Do you see what I'm saying, or is it just me?
Yeah, no, I see that. It that could be because it's slightly out of focus. It could be because of, some heavy-handed dodging and burning. Sometimes infrared creates a little weird aura, a little fuzz. Kind of like an over backlight kind of thing, reflecting off the field or something. Like, I don't know. Yeah.
Interesting.
I'll have to ask Peter.
And just real quick before we leave this image, when you're shooting in infrared or with an infrared modified camera, does that affect the focus point at all? Like, would you, I mean, not dramatically, but yeah, I feel like if you're focusing on the eye, like say you're doing a portrait and it's in infrared and you focus on the retina in the eye and you're at that kind of, those tolerances where if you're off just by a micrometer or whatever, it'll be out of focus and noticeable. Is that exacerbated by infrared because it's reflecting off different surfaces than what visible light is reflecting off of?
Not for the most part. It is if you're shooting with a DSLR and you don't have a calibrated lens, because infrared light and visible light focus at different lengths. If you're shooting with a mirrorless camera, you're literally focusing off the pixels on the sensor, so that shouldn't make any difference at all.
Okay. Really cool. Yeah.
Well, aside from
the focus, Peter, this is a great shot. Peter will be dragged in the member mixer this Friday. So,
cool. Don't enter that in competition. I'm just saying.
All right. And next up, Jim Peters. He says, please help us. Man, that's cool. Creepy. It's creepy. Please help us. Free us.
Yeah, it reminds me of the Twilight Zone episode of the store and the mannequins.
Your mind went to Twilight Zone. My mind went to Futurama.
Very nice.
Yeah, different class level there, right?
How funny. I love the image. I think it's such a wonderful capture, and it's kudos for seeing it and picking it out. And I love how we've got the red border on the bottom, that red sort of that chin, that foundation, and then all these faces that are so different in the frame. I'm distracted by some of the reflections and some of the things going on in the frame, and I'm wondering if leaning into black and white and removing like that reflection in the top left wouldn't make this a stronger image. Wonder what you think.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I'm on the fence about that because I look at it. Yeah, absolutely. Removing the reflections would be great and draw us more into the faces there. I probably want to see a little bit more contrast on the faces, just a smidgen, or maybe it's just clarity or something, just to make them pop out a little bit more. As for monochrome versus color on this, I'm on the fence because on the one hand, I'd want to see it and see them side by side in order to make that determination. So on the one hand, I like the different wood tone colors of these heads, and I feel like you might lose some of that if you drop the color out of them. But on the other hand, if you drop the color out of them, it becomes less about the wood tone, right? And more about the faces and the shot itself, which is the whole purpose of going monochromatic, is to, hey, look at the composition and the photo on its merits versus don't get lost in the color. Because, yeah, you're right. There's a different color brown down here. There's this brown in the background in this upper left-hand quadrant. And then each of our heroes here has a slightly different tone of color on the wood. What would it look like if you dropped that color out of there? I'd love to see that. And yeah, drop the color out and have these guys pop out a little bit more so that it's more, no pun intended, in your face. But, might be kind of cool.
Yeah. Yeah, and maybe crop down from the top a little bit. Don't crop into the loop, the main loop, of that whatever it is, like that fence or whatever. But clean up the top a little bit. Um, this has a lot of potential. It definitely has a lot of potential, but I think that it needs a little bit more reworking from here.
Hmm. Yeah, Jim Peters says, but keeping the heads and foreground in color. So basically desaturating the background a little bit. Yeah, that might do it. That might do it. That might pull us into the, and yeah, maybe not going completely monochromatic on the background, but just desaturating it a little bit might do the trick. Definitely, like you
Yeah,
said, Trey,
yeah,
definitely worth some more experimentation and playing with to see what you come up with.
yeah. Super cool.
Yep. Very cool. Thank you, Jim Peters. Is that it? Is just those last two?
I think that's it.
All right, man. Do you have a favorite for this crop? I have a feeling. Let me just
I do.
click. I know who it's gonna
I
be.
think
I
it's
already
very.
know.
I think it might be a little biased. I don't know that it's the right choice, but it's my favorite. So
All right, say it. I'm gonna hit the button because my favorite is already queued up
incoming storm.
right there.
Nora's.
Look
Yeah,
at that. Right there.
that's
Right there.
wow. That's just so wow. I gotta say, I think that if Ansel Adams was around today, he would look at an image like that and be like, "Well done, Nora."
Yeah.
That is just so. It's so wonderful. Yeah, I just.
Ansel would say, "Yeah, can you give me some pointers, Nora? Because this is really I want to get this good." So very cool.
Yeah, yeah. There's
Congratulations,
so much
Nora.
good. Yep, yep. Congratulations.
Yep. So cool. And folks, we have a little bit of a delay between when I say something or when Troy says something and we hear what the other one says. Still the software. We're still trying to sort that. All right.
Yeah,
Cool. Nora in the
it's
chat
fun.
says, Nora says, it's all due to you guys. Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
No.
Whatever. As her throwing breadcrumbs to the koi. That's what that is.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, very cool. All right, we need to pick a subject for our next critique, Troy, which is coming up on the 27th of this month, which is the last Monday. What do you think?
Well, I have a couple thoughts. I have two
Oh,
thoughts. I'll let you pick. Yeah, I have
okay.
one, reflections, because I think reflections are really fun. Where the reflection itself is the actual subject, not just something that has a reflection in it, or night photography.
Night
N-
photography
Night.
with an N,
Yeah,
not a Knight or night.
correct. Yes, night photography. Yeah,
Because the only person that would win
so
that would
nighttime.
be like Karen or someone that can go to a castle or something.
That's true.
Night. Let's go with. You know what? I think reflections. I like reflections. Maybe we'll save night
Okay,
photography for a
reflections
future
it
one.
is.
Yeah, let's go
There
with
you go.
reflections for critique number 210, which will be recorded on the 27th of February 2023. So, and I will build the event today so that you folks can start submitting your reflection images, you know, more than 12 hours out. But good. That was good. What a great crop. I love the open critiques because they're, people get a chance to kind of stretch their legs and not be constrained by the subject matter. But the constraints are also good, to constrain people and push them out of their
Yeah.
comfort zone. So we'll see what reflections come up. Karen, no resubmitting of your, you know, Gates of Hell shot there because that's a reflection. Cool. All right, we'll leave it right there. Troy Miller, any parting thoughts to share with the group?
Just enjoy the rest of your day. Be safe, be cool, and go take some pictures.
I love it. I love it. Words to shoot by. All right, everybody. Have a great week. Have a fantastic Monday. Those of you that celebrate Valentine's Day, which is tomorrow as we record this, good luck and hope you get everything you're looking for. And we'll leave it right there. All right, everybody. Have a good week. Take care.